I have a cat that just came on and got off and is probably wanting to leave the office. So here we go. My apologies, but if you are around Creative Life Spiritual Center, at least two of the ministers have got cats. The other one being Reverend Lisa Ryan. We're starting a new month, and this month the Science of Mind magazine, the editor and the staff have decided to repeat the March readings from Reverend Dr Margaret Stortz from, I don't know when, quite a few years ago, because they thought it was apropos to the time. So they are repeat readings. However, she has got a lot of wisdom and a lot of background in science of mind in general and new thoughts in particular. So I think it's worthwhile reading them. And I don't remember actually the readings. So probably nobody else out there is. I also want to say at the beginning, these readings, at least the first one, are directed to people who are part of the New Thought community in general and Science of Mind in particular. But I realize that a lot of people who listen to these daily readings, either from myself or from Reverend Lisa, aren't of that kind of background. A lot of people are Christians of different Christian backgrounds. Some people are Wicca that I know. Some people are Muslim, Hindu. Some people would say they're spiritual, but no particular religious affiliation. Other people are agnostic, and other people just don't know. And in other words, what I try to do is change the readings a little bit so that they're suitable for anybody who wants to watch this, and not just people who are part of the New Thought communities. That will be like religious science, divine science, unity, and so on. And to me, they're more in line with how I think Jesus taught, and to some extent, how Paul taught, if you read between the lines in what Paul is saying. So there we are. Here we go. The title for the whole month's readings is Your Endeavor is Rather to Become Aware of the Presence and its activity flowing through you. And that was quoted from Ernest Holmes in This Thing Called You. Reverend Margaret Stortz has been writing daily guides for 50 years, pretty well every year. So she has a lot of experience, a lot more than me. So I bow to her wisdom. She was a long-time minister and practitioner. She's retired from the pulpit of Oakland Center for Spiritual Living in California, Oakland. And she's been both the chair of the International Board of Trustees and president of the United Church of Religious Science, which was one of the two predecessor organizations to Centers for Spiritual Living. And she's written books, she's written essays on everything, more essays on everything. And you can get these on Amazon and various other places. These days, I've got to admit, if I buy a hard copy book, I'll often go and try and find it secondhand if it's going to be a more expensive one. But this is what she says about March. She said, "A spring arrives, bringing new life with all her splendor. She hopes that these daily insights, my mouse has got a life of its own, will help you to make this passage through this month." And she entrusts to you these readings with great blessings as possibilities for wonderful beginnings that are now unfolding. And she says that the guides explore principles of science of mind, and I'll try to take them into account as I go along, and so on and so forth. And she says, but her quotes are all from Ernest Holmes because she loves these books. And throughout the month, that's what she's going to use. And that is kind of a summary of where we go. And I always give a summary at the beginning of every month. The title that Reverend Margaret has given to today's reading is Does This Affirm Life? Does this affirm life? First quote is they're all from Ernest Holmes this month. First quote is from Keys to Wisdom, and it's on page 41. I like it when they quote the page. God's mind is already in our mind, always operating through our consciousness. In other words, God is everything, God is everywhere. So God has to be within us and within our mind. And in the Science of Mind textbook, which was Ernest Holmes' major work, written in the 1920s and then updated in the 1930s, on page 147 of the 1930s edition, he says, "We all have the ability to transcend previous experiences and to rise triumphant above them." And this is Rev Margaret. As March begins, it would probably be a good idea to see just how well we are using our mental prowess. And then she says, in our system of spiritual oneness with God, God is all there is, in other words, we believe that the mind we use, the only mind there, is the mind of God. The question is, how well are we using this mind? With how much wisdom and expertise are we using the magnificent power at our disposal? In other words, the mind of God is at our disposal when we realize it is. Since ideas of good and bad so often become arbitrary, he says, I like to use a question that I can always stand upon. And I ask, does this affirm life? Does how I think and what I do uplift the life and energy of the way I'm living? And she goes on to say, these are worthy questions for any self-aware, and she says spiritual being, but any self-aware being. We are the guardians of our own thoughts. We are the ones who will ride a train of thought to its destination, or if that destination is not worthy, we can redirect it. In fact, as people who aim to live lives guided by, she says, divine inspiration, choose your own expression, we really have little choice but to pay attention to our thinking and make sure that it's the most informed and, quote, God-directed, unquote, that we can achieve. The world always needs the greatest love and creativity that we have to give. With the mind of God always at our fingertips, how can we make any other choice but to affirm life? The other way of looking at this is that there is a power. Ernest Holmes said, there is a power greater than you are, right where you are right now, and you can use it. In other words, you have at your disposal the mind of God. And if you want to translate it into terms that Jesus used, he would say, it is done unto you as you believe. And he proved it. So to me, it's all summed up in look at and lots of different religions affirm this in different ways. I know Sikhism does, Sufism does, Christianity in some of its expressions does, Hinduism in some of its expressions does. In other words, look at your life and think, am I contributing positively or not to making the world a better place? So that would be my summary of this. Are we utilizing the power at our disposal, the power that comes from the divine, in order to make our lives better and the life of other people better? These are gifts. Are we using them properly? I changed what most people here, they use the word affirmation at the end and they give us 1, 2, sometimes 3 affirmations. I've changed it to affirmation or contemplation. You want to use this as an affirmation, or is it something that you just like to look at and contemplate? I'm the place where God stands forth in the world as me. I am the place where God stands forth in the world as me. In deep peace and a chronic attitude, I use my mind in ways that bring the greatest good into my world. In deep peace and chronic attitude, and then highlighted, I use my mind in ways that bring the greatest good into the world. And as I said, use these, change them, don't use them, use your own, but just focus on the one idea for today, which is, how am I contributing to the world? And do I realize that there is a power at my disposal that I can use? It is done unto me as I believe. Belief, thought plus feeling. am I doing with it? It's a great gift. So that's it. My previous reading today was the one I promised last month and didn't do, which was Murphy's Dogma. I love Murphy's Dogma. I bought the book that Bob Lukin wrote, which supposedly is Murphy the dog, but of course it's Bob Lukin speaking through his eyes. So tomorrow, two things. One is Reverend Lisa will be on at 9:15-ish. We will have our Sunday service at 11. It's available if you go to Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page. Then it will be broadcast there live, and then later on it will be put on YouTube. And it will, of course, be in person at our center on Spring Stuvner, Creative Life Spiritual Center. So tune in live if you can, and if you can't, watch the recording. Reverend Jesse Jennings, our senior minister, has always got a good message, and he will give us something to work on for the next week. So until next time, namaste.